Now we've seen how we can get a collection of elements, right, a whole group of them, and then we can access an individual element in that group using the array notation. Well, there's a way to just get a single element as well, and that is by using the get element by ID. Now notice this doesn't have an S, and we're actually just getting a single element. Now when we want to do this, we call the method, and it's actually getting it by the ID. Now remember when we set an attribute, an ID attribute to a value? The expectation is that in any web page, every ID is unique. You only assign an ID to a single element. So when we get an element by ID, it's looking for an ID that is unique on the web page. If for some reason you've got two IDs that have the same value, it will just get the first one. So this becomes really important then to make sure that each ID has a single value and it's only used once on the web page. So now if we do that, and notice it's the same process, object.method. So document is the object, get element by ID is the method, and let's try this. So here's where we get the element, and it's asking for an element where ID is set to demo. And if we look up here in the HTML, we see that this paragraph has ID equal to demo. So that's the element it'll get. It'll get that paragraph. And notice the paragraph is displaying in the web page over here. And what it's going to do after it gets that element, you can change properties of the element. And that's what it's doing here. It's changing the property of inner HTML. So it says get the inner HTML. What inner HTML is, it's all the content between the opening tag and the closing tag. So in this case, here's the closing paragraph tag, and there's the opening one. So everything between the opening and closing is the inner HTML. So that is the click the button to change the text in this paragraph. And what it's saying is, it's saying get that property and set it equal to hello world. So it's actually replacing everything between the opening and closing tags with a hello world. Now look over here and watch when it happens. Right now, between the opening and closing tag, it says click the button to change the text in this paragraph. When we click it, it goes, gets that paragraph and sets the inner HTML to hello world, and that's what displays on the web page. So there's an example of getting an element and then setting the inner HTML. Now there's another example on here. You can set other kinds of properties. So there's another example on here where you can actually change the style property. So again, we have a paragraph with ID equal demo. And now notice that this one is handled a little bit differently. So this one, they actually create a variable, and then they've gone and got that element and stored the element in the variable, right? This element is an object, and that object can be stored in the variable X. So they've gone and gotten it, stored it in X, and then they've used that element, see the variable X, which is that paragraph element, and they've changed the style property. So they do .style, which is a property, and then one of the properties in style is color. So it's the property style, specifically the CSS property color, and they're setting it equal to red. So currently there is no style set on that paragraph. It's just showing with the default black text. And now when we click it, it's going to change that property, the style property color, to red. And there it did, right? Color changes the CSS color property, changes the text to red. And so that was another property that can be changed. So getting an element, and whether you store it in a variable or not, once you get that element, you can make changes to it.